Welcome back to another episode of The Final Word, the number one Pacers podcast on the web. I'm your host, Raj, and with me once again standing in for Preston is my dad. We have a great show lined up for you guys today, but before we get to that, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to The Final Word so you never miss a show. Plus, it would really help us to support the production of the show. Also, if you guys would like to support the podcast, you can sponsor us at one of the top two levels. Click the link in the episode description. We will shout out your business, your cause, or just your social media handle each month, and you'll be added to a private Final Word community so you can hang live with me and Preston while we watch the Pacers smoke the competition. Or you can support getting a professionally installed smart home by one of our top smart home providers in the country. Just text smart home to 317-300-4750. That's 317-300-4750. So Dad, how was that game?
Well, Raj, I tell you, the game was really exciting. I mean, I know everybody got excited about this game, and one thing is, it's good to be excited. It's good to know that you got two quality teams playing. And it was one of those exciting type games because, you thought they were out of it, and then they were back into it, and then they were sort of going away, sort of fading away, but they came back, and it was a hard-fought game. And, even though they went into overtime and we didn't get the results that we wanted, but they came up a little short tonight. One thing that did happen, they proved that, once again, they're a team that's never going to give up. They're always going to fight and going to do the best they can. So they're not going to let their fans down.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good game, and they definitely were fighting hard. You could kind of see some of the frustration on some of the rookies' faces because they didn't get some of the calls they thought they should have gotten, which is perfectly understandable. And I will say the referees probably could have called some things they missed, but that's how it's going to happen. It happens like that in all games. So sometimes you just feel like when you're on the road, you're going to get the short end of the stick, but it just is what it is. Rick Carlisle mentioned that the game, a lot of people just focus in on the last few minutes of a game in the fourth quarter with a microscope, but I mean a lot of the game is really decided in the first three quarters, so it's all a build up. So, but everything didn't kind of turn out how we wanted it to, but it's okay because the Pacers did fight hard, even though they lost. They can't win them all. They had a great opportunity to win this one, just like the last, and honestly, that's all you can really ask for. They're not going to get all of them, unfortunately. So, but that's what it is. Even though they didn't have Joel Embiid, which honestly I thought was a great opportunity for them to win, so we don't have to worry about Miles getting pushed around. But is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. It is what it is. Now, but even though they didn't have Joel Embiid, they did have Montrezl Harrell, and he played one heck of a game. Of course, he's a seasoned veteran, and so it wasn't like the Pacers could just walk over the 76ers at the center position.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
He's a big, strong guy, and it took a lot out of him, a lot of fight. But one thing that that came up, I think that really stood out was, once again, the importance of the bench, that second team. Now, of course, as we talk about the second team, you look and you see that Ben Mathurin, he might be on the second team, but you notice he was in there at clutch time.
Yeah, he was.
At closing time, he was in there. Now, a lot of people will often say, well, he should be starting. But no, it's actually better for him not to start, to be with the second team, and he has time to study, and he can study a little bit about his opponents and what they're doing, and he can look and find weaknesses, things that he can attack.
Exactly.
And, yeah, and I think that the interesting thing, I don't know how many people caught this, But down in the closing, James Harden was matched up one-on-one with him.
Yeah, he was.
And he was attacking James Harden.
Oh yeah, he's always. You can tell he's always up for the challenge. But
yeah, he didn't back down. Now, like I said, there was a time he attacked James Harden, and I thought a crucial call was missed.
Yeah.
And the fact that you could actually see James Harden place his left hand in Ben Matherin's back.
Right, but
when he was going up for a layup, and he pushed him forward.
Yep, but he's
now how they missed that call, I don't know.
I don't know how they missed that call. I don't know how they missed him double dribbling. I mean, I don't know how they missed a lot of things. But only thing I can say is sometimes these superstars just get the benefit of the doubt for whatever reason. You know, they just do. They have a little bit of a favoritism on them. So
yeah, but you know, the other thing is, in clutch time, you notice the Pacers had two rookies on the court.
Yeah, Nembhard and Mathurin. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't think about that, but you know that again lets you know that these are special players.
Yeah, definitely, and that does say a lot about them. At the same time, I have to admit, I was thinking, maybe Nembhard shouldn't be on the court right now. But even so, I mean, it's still allowing him to get that experience early versus at a later date. So even though he did kind of mess up near the end and throw that bad pass.
He did make a pass that he shouldn't have made.
Yeah.
But, you know, years ago, I've seen that same pass, same kind of pass happen with what we call good players.
Right.
You know. And I mean, that's really, Raj, is a play, I would say, even in middle school, high school, you don't make that pass.
Yeah. But honestly, that was the difference if we won or we lost the game, really, with that pass right there.
Well, that's one.
That's one. Okay, that was one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them. But you got to remember, during the whole course of the game, there's mistakes that'll be made. And all those, you know, tend to influence the flow of the game and how things are going to be determined.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, you know, and you stop and you think, how do you let a team get a run on you where they score 10 points on you and you haven't scored?
Mm-hmm.
See, or you end up getting down by 15, 16 points. Now you got to crawl back into the game. And it takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah, it definitely did take. I mean, they were able to do it, but I mean, you shouldn't have to do that. Which I was talking to you earlier about. I wish that they could, you know, just really put some teams away. You know, because it just seems like they're just always hanging in there, and it's good. You know, it's good that we're not getting blown away, and you know, blown out. But at the same time, you'd like us to be able to start blowing some people out. You know, so.
Well. The other thing is, though, the Pacers are not an overpowering team.
Right.
Physically, they are structurally, physically not able to just blow people out. They'll beat people because of their hustle. They'll beat them because of their heart. In other words, they don't back down. They, you know, it's like, we're not the biggest people on the court, but when you come at us or we come at you, you're going to have to fight.
Right.
You know, so we're not going to lay down. We're not going to give anything. In other words, you're going to have to come take it. You're going to have to prove something to us because we think we're just as good as you are.
Yeah.
And I know physically the Pacers do not have tall players with long arms. I mean, you look at Miles and he's blocking shots and you know, but he's not an overpowering player.
No, he's not.
He's just quick and has a good sense of timing.
So do you think that was the difference when we had Sabonis? I do remember we had quite a few games, and I'm not referring to last year, obviously, But in the good years, we had quite a few games. I do remember we were stringing back-to-back wins, and we were blowing teams out too. I mean, I remember we'd be up in the third quarter by like 25, 30 points. I don't know if you can remember that. Around like the 2018-ish year. Yeah, we'd be up by 25, 30 points, blowing people out in the third quarter. Now, obviously, that didn't result in anything near the end of the season, but it's still good it's nice to be able to see that we're up that far. It kind of makes you relax a little bit, because honestly, I mean, this game, I was on the edge of my seat, felt like most of the second half. So...
yeah, and it depends on the makeup of your team, because the times you were talking about with Sabonis, a lot of people still never really understood that Turner was playing too. They were on the court together. And I said this then and even now, if you really look at it, Turner is actually playing defense for more than just himself.
Right.
He's playing basically defense with three people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if other people get beat, they know he's back there.
Right.
And there are shots and things that people would miss just because of them being aware that Turner was there.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say about Sabonis, a good thing about Sabonis, physically he's really strong. He could move people around.
Right.
But he had one weakness that people never really focused or thought about. I think other teams learned and they attacked it, was the fact that even though he was physically strong and he could move you around with his body,
mm-hmm.
but if you had a vertical, which means you could jump, you could out jump him, so you could go up over him. I knew you were about to say that.
Sabonis is tall, but it's like he has T-Rex baby arms, and he can't get off the floor. It's like his arms are short.
T-Rex baby arms.
Yeah, he has short T-Rex arms.
Yeah, really, physically, he did not have a real strong vertical.
Nah, he didn't. That was his main weakness. Now, if you could give Sabonis a strong vertical, if you could give him some robot, cyborg legs or something like that, he had a strong vertical, man, you better watch out, But, yeah, that's a big negative for Sabonis. I remember when Thaddeus Young, we had Thaddeus Young, and I think it was maybe their first year playing together. Thaddeus Young tried to throw Sabonis a lob, and he had no chance of getting it. Sabonis could just smile, and then they just smiled and was like, well, we ain't trying that again. I will never forget that. That was embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for Sabonis, but he has the strengths. That's just not one of them. He can't get up. So, which is one thing I did like about having Jackson, even though he hasn't been playing. Jackson, he's not injured, right?
No, he's not injured.
Okay.
It's just as far as the rotation work. Really, Smith is doing such a good job at that backup at the center position. It doesn't give Jackson enough time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Smith is actually a more, I think he's a better offensive performer than Jackson is. I mean, Jackson will impress everybody with his leaping ability, being able to jump up and hang and get balls, but physically, then the other thing is Jackson still he's young. I mean, Jackson's probably 20, 21.
Yeah, he is. He still
at
is
the
young.
most, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once again, physically, he's still developing.
Yeah.
And so, when everybody talked about how good he is, no, he's not as good as he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think the Pacers actually moved him. Well, I wouldn't say he moved him down, but they sent him to Fort Wayne to be with the Mad Ants so he can get more playing time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not that they don't want him, or it's not that he's been demoted or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that league they use to actually get players developed, to get them playing time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really important. Even when you look at Dorte,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at him, he's still working to get back to where he was because of that ankle injury.
Right.
You know, your strength and your timing, and you got to put all those things together. It gets thrown off when you're out for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you got those injuries, so it takes some time to get back.
Right. Do you think he's maybe in his head a little bit, maybe frustrated about his abilities to, contribute right now to the team? Because he can see Nimhard, and he can see, Matherin, they're flourishing, and, Neesmith. I mean, they're all contributing, and he was here on the team last year, and, he was getting all these compliments from these different NBA players. I know Kevin Durant talked about him, gave him a compliment. LeBron James talked about him. So he was getting a lot of, he was, starting to build his...
Well, Roger, the interesting thing is an athlete knows who he is, and he knows and realizes what his abilities are.
Right.
And so I think he's not frustrated to the point where he's thinking, I can't do this. He just realizes it's going to take him some time.
Right.
A lot of times you'll hear them and they say, trust in the process.
Yeah.
In other words, it's something they're going to have to go through. I had this injury. Now I got to work through that. So let's just trust the process, the people we got around us to get us back to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like this. Mentally, you know what you're capable of because you've done it. You put in the work and you know how to get it done.
Right.
So that doesn't go away, but until your body is physically catches up with you mentally, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience, and that's another reason why it's important to have some veterans, some guys that have been there, have gone through that, and they understand that.
Right.
Because they understand what you think and how you're feeling when you're not being able to be productive like you could be.
Right. Exactly. So I got a question for you. So how do you feel about Rick Carlisle's 10-man rotation? It's not really something I really thought about until recently. But some teams don't have a 10-man rotation. But I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, the important thing about the 10-man rotation, a lot of people don't think about it. Number one, you got two units, and they both sort of function at the same level.
Right.
That's why you don't have a big drop-off when you bring in that rotation. But the other thing is the players will actually be woven in and out from that second team into the first team.
Mm-hmm.
So they get time and experience with the players on the first team. So they learn how to play with more than just 4 additional players.
Right.
That each individual player is actually learn how to play with a total of 9 players.
Yeah, that's actually a very smooth way of doing it. And I think that could be why they've been so successful, at least this time around. Or at least one of the reasons.
Yeah, that means that they feel comfortable when they're whoever they're on the floor with, in whatever position. And the important thing is they say developing trust, where they trust one another. They believe in each other.
Mm-hmm.
You got to believe when I pass that ball to that guy and he's wide open, he can take that shot and he can hit it. I mean, even now and then you'll see TJ McConnell will take threes. And it's because other teams have looked at him and they say, well, he doesn't shoot that three. So he's really no threat there.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's out there, then that means we basically defensively don't really have to have a lot of pressure there. So then we can slide off and we can move back down into the paint, and we can actually sort of help double team on other people. Because, if he's out there, he's no real threat because he's going to be moving the ball. So we need to know where he's moving the ball, keeping track of him. But if he's hitting that three, then you say, well, if he hits a couple of them, maybe tonight's his night. We're gonna have to go out and put some pressure on him. We can't just let him sit out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, when that happens, and you get players, that's why when you hear about Buddy Heild, and he's always in the gym putting balls up. He shoots even when he's having an off night. He doesn't give up because he has that mentality that the next one's going to fall. The next one's going to fall. I mean, you look at how he played tonight. He didn't hit a whole lot of shots.
Yeah, he started off a little rough.
But when they needed him, he showed up.
Yep. He got a nice little favorable bounce on one of them, but we'll take it, So, but I think he was still at least 40% for the night, I believe. I'm not really sure 1,000%, but I believe he was at least maybe about 40%. So, even so, I mean, he still ended up with a better shooting night than I thought he was going to end up with. I mean, he finished with 24 points.
And like I say, though, the other thing is, not only did he hit the threes, he got points for him driving to the basket. Okay. And so, I mean, that in itself sort of kept the 76ers off balance, too.
Yeah, definitely. But speaking of driving to the basket, I felt like we missed a little bit too many layups. I don't know. It seemed like we had too many missed layups tonight.
Well, but the thing about layups depends on, you got to think about this, when you're going to the basket and the angle you're at, you have to maneuver to get around people to avoid getting charged calls on you. So there's a lot of different things where a lot of times it looks like, that was an easy shot. Well, actually, it can be an easy shot, but if it goes off the backboard, hits the rim, ain't no telling where it's going to bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes they put them up there, they can put them up there soft, and they just drop. Other times, once again, they're putting them up, but you got to put the ball up where you're going up over somebody else's outreached hand.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a vertical where you can jump and you just keep elevating at a certain point, you'll be able to drop the ball in over people.
Right.
But then again, when you're around 6'3", 6'4", and you're going up against 6'7" people, how much spring do you have left in your legs? That's the other thing about having a bench and giving your starters the opportunity to sit down and get rest.
Right.
So down towards the end, when they need to have fresh legs, they're the best they can be.
Right. And
there's times you can see when the player actually jumps and takes off and goes up for a layup, and it's like, well, he went up, but he couldn't really elevate the way he really wanted to.
Right.
And that's where sometimes you actually see a guy shooting a layup and the ball falls short of the rim.
Because their legs aren't fresh.
Right.
Now,
all those things. All those things are important.
Yeah, but speaking of people with fresh legs, it seems like, to me anyways, T.J. McConnell is somebody who seems to always have fresh legs. I don't think his legs are ever unfresh.
No, his legs get unfresh too. But but the thing about him is he's just a burst of energy.
Yeah.
And so even in his dribbling the ball around and probing, you'll notice he has times that he's just sort of moving slow. But then when he goes to the basket, he accelerates, especially coming down the floor. We talk about pushing the ball down the floor, the way he can accelerate to go past people. But then by him being as small as he is, if somebody's back there that's 6'5", 6'7", I mean, he realizes he can't elevate over him. So the thing is, he has to be able to go around him. And can he go around him and get himself positioned where he can still protect the ball to make the pass or to make the shot?
Yeah, he has a quick little turn, scoop around jumper he does. A little 15-footer. 10, 15-foot jumper he has. So just manages to get over people all the time. And it seems like he hits it more than he doesn't.
Yep. But usually, a lot of times he has to shoot that shot. When he shoots it, he's falling away from the basket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because he's creating distance between him and the defense so he can get the ball up over their hands.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what he does. And obviously he's not dunking on anybody, so he has to have some kind of weapon around the post.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see him dunk the ball.
I don't think he can. I mean, how tall is the guy? He's not that tall.
I'll bet you he can dunk.
He probably can because he is an NBA athlete and he's super quick. So I just don't think he'd probably want to try to dunk in game. But if you gave him a chance to do it, he could probably show you he could. But yeah, he probably can. One interesting stat about Benedict Mathurin. So we discussed about how he can drive and get to the foul line. Apparently, he's 24th in the NBA in making it to the free throw line. So he averages 6 attempts per game, which is pretty crazy considering he's just a rookie. I mean, why do you think that is? Why do you think he has that kind of success as far as getting to the foul line?
Well, once again, I think part of it's his belief in himself. Of course, he put in enough time and he plays. And one thing about players go out and they play with other people, and they know if they want to be good, they got to play against quality people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're small, one thing you learn is you have to be able to jump. And you'll find a lot of small guards. When I say small guards, now we're talking about somebody like around 6'2". Actually could be 5'10", as far as that goes. But those players will find out that, hey, if I can't jump quick enough, if I can't move quick enough, then I can't put myself in position where I can control a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they learn to control what they can control.
Right.
They learn what they can't control. And so that's why it's really important. You have to sometimes look at the athletes and like Benedict Mathurin, he said, you got to prove to me you're better than me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe anybody's better than me.
Yeah, that's saying a whole lot.
That's the force he plays with.
Yep, he sure does play like that. So whether that's true or not, I can't say. It doesn't matter whether we believe there's anybody better than him. As long as he believes that, he'll continue to improve and maybe one day get to that recognition of maybe a top 10, top 15 player. I can definitely see that happening with him. So some people have went on a limb and compared him to a young Michael Jordan or a young Kobe Bryant or somebody like that. That's saying a whole lot. But I mean, he has that kind of determination. I mean, I know people throw this word around, the Mamba mentality. I think he could possibly be one of those people with it. I think he could be. I don't know. From what I heard about his workouts that he had with the Pacers before they picked him, he had extra workout with Rick Carlisle at the end of the day. He didn't have to do that, but I mean, that's something that says something about your character and your work ethic, I'd say.
People that want to be great have to be willing to do what others won't do.
Certainly.
So we know there's a lot of good athletes, a lot of good basketball players. They played great in high school, but you couldn't talk to them, you couldn't coach them, and they couldn't make it in college.
Right.
Or they got in college and they found out that they're playing with people on a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to elevate their game. Well, coming out of college, you find out when you go to the NBA, you're playing with people on a whole new level.
Yeah, it just keeps on going up.
And so you can still have to be able to elevate your game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where putting in that extra time. That's where having that self-confidence makes a big difference.
Right. Yeah, it makes a big difference for just about any kind of area in your life, being confident in your abilities. So, because if you don't believe in you, how can you expect anybody else to believe in you? So.
That's right.
Yep. So, but yeah, even though they fought hard tonight, they didn't come up with the win. But it is what it is. They can't win them all. Honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't really like the fact that at halftime, Nembhard was our scorer, our leading scorer. He had 10 at the half. We were down 61-66 at the half, but the thing I didn't like about this was not that I'm not saying I don't want Nembhard to score. I'm more so saying Buddy Heild and Haliburton were combined for only 13 in the first half, and Harden had 16 all by himself. So I feel like when you have that kind of scoring going on, your top two scorers aren't really getting up to the level they need to. I just feel like that's gonna result in a tough game, and it definitely was a tough game. Now they turned it on. They turned it on near the end, but yeah.
But one thing you have to understand, though, every player has their moment. They have their time. They may start the game out and be missing shots.
Right.
Okay. But then someone else starts the game out and they're just for some reason, this is their night, and this is their moment. The shot's there, and they're feeling it. You got to feed the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you find someone's open, and they're hitting the shots, hey, just give it to them.
Right. And speaking of people who are open, who are trying to find people who are open, Turner had a couple of really bad passes. I don't know if you'd say they're really bad, but I don't know. I think maybe him hanging around with Tyrese Haliburton is making him think he can do things he normally wouldn't be able to do. I don't know. I'm not saying he can't pass and he can't make good assists. He has, but he tried making that no-look pass to Nembhard in the corner, and he just probably should have made a regular pass. It was just, kind of threw the ball away a couple different times. Had a pass to Neesmith when he was under the basket also, kind of threw that away. Didn't really get it to him in a good position, but it's okay. It's he has to try to expand and get better as well.
Well, that's the other thing. When you look at a player, no player is ever really complete.
Right.
And they'll observe and they'll learn from the people that they actually practice with, the people that they play with, the people that they observe. And, there's certain skills. I'll tell you something else. A lot of people don't know about this one either. Miles Turner, early on when he was playing basketball, was a guard.
Was he?
Yeah. He was a guard. And so he had some ball handling skills and things that basically sort of got brushed to the side because of look at his size. When you look at a guy his size, you don't think about him being an excellent passer.
No, you don't.
A lot of people, when you talk about Buddy Hield they act like he can't play defense and he can't pass. They sort of shocked to see him make a nice pass or make a defensive steal.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, certain people have certain opinions about you, but you don't let other people define who you are.
Right. Exactly. So, I guess it's good that Turner felt comfortable enough to be able to do something like that, but at the same time, I don't want to see him get in the habit of doing it, you know.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you ever see Haliburton make a bad pass?
To tell you the truth, Dad, Haliburton making a bad pass, it's hard for me to say yes, even though I know he probably has. I know he has, but he makes so many good passes. He makes
he makes bad passes too.
But he makes so many more good passes than bad passes. Like, his turnover ratio is extremely low.
If you make a bad pass, does that mean you stop passing?
No, never. But at the same time, you have to recognize your ability, you know. So we don't want TJ McConnell trying to dunk in game.
What I'm saying there, just because we see a pass as being a bad pass doesn't necessarily mean that the individual shouldn't make the pass. It just means they shouldn't make the pass at the time in which they make it.
Yeah, you have to
because think about sometimes you'll see passes and there are times when Haliburton actually makes bad passes because he passes the ball where it's in the air too long and it has to travel too far.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you'll see people deflect the ball and be going down for a dunk.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of tick like, man, why'd you make that pass? That was dumb. A dumb pass is a dumb pass.
Right.
A good pass is a good pass. But, you know, those things will happen. LeBron James makes bad passes.
Right.
Okay. But the thing is, do you realize when you make a bad pass?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll make a bad pass and I think, man, I shouldn't have made that pass. But sometimes you look and you think, well, I can just get by them. And you sort of, because, you know, there's calculations going on the whole course of the game. Because you have to look at the person that's guarding you. You have to look at the person you're wanting to pass to. How long is it going to take for you to get the ball from you to them? Does the defense in a certain position, do they have enough time or enough speed to get to that ball?
Right.
Okay. Then when I'm going towards the basket, do I have enough energy, knowing the individual that's there? If I know I'm going to the basket, Miles Turner is there, I better be able to make some kind of adjustments real quick. Well, maybe I'm going up. I'm not really looking to shoot the ball because I know I'm going to have to eat it. but at least if I go up, I'm drawing him to me. Now, ahead of time, if I'm drawing him to me, does that open up someone else on my team to receive the pass?
Right. And Miles Turner made a lot of people eat it tonight. He had 5 blocks. He was serving them up on a platter.
That's right. So, but once again, people had to count on him to be there.
Yeah,
saying we're going to apply this pressure. We're going to go for the steal. We got to try and get this turnover. Well, that means you're taking chances. But if you're taking a chance when you know you got somebody to back you up, it makes a big difference.
Exactly.
So I'm taking a chance and like, okay, if I take this chance and I miss it, dude's going to hit a layup. I don't need to be taking that chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I can take a chance, and if I get it, I get it. If I don't, Miles is there to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's where you get a feel for the people you play with, what they can and can't do,
mm-hmm.
or the way they view a game.
Mm-hmm.
because different players will see different things depending on who they're looking at and who's on the floor with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they get to know one another. They get a chance to understand how they'll react to certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's sort of fun sometimes to watch Buddy Hield and Tyrese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's almost like they look at each other and they know what they're gonna do.
Oh yeah, they have great chemistry.
Yeah, Buddy's saying, okay, if I go spot up over here, I know he's gonna hit me. And it's like Tyrese is saying, yeah, go move over there, man. I got you.
It's very interesting watching all that play out, because I mean it's like they're talking to each other. I know you're supposed to talk when you're playing the game and whatnot, but it's just like I don't even know if they really have to talk much, or they just kind of instinctively know through practicing and playing.
But that's because they played together long enough, they know one another.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, every now and then, you'll hear the announcer say, well, that was a little miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen. Because there's some things that are done with eye contact and a shake of the head. You know, some things you just point with your hand and, okay, I got you. I know what you're talking about. So, yeah, those different situations will come up.
Mm-hmm.
But, once again, the Pacers played an exciting game. I know we were all excited. Oh, man, I was so excited. And then there was those moments when I said, man, why'd y'all do that? Oh, why didn't you just go to the basket?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah, so, but those things will happen. And there are times, you know, when the layup, I mean, the guy's wide open. How did he miss that?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the way the ball bounces.
Yeah, and speaking of wide open shots, Buddy Hield had 2 great opportunities back to back for some wide open threes, missed both of them. I just knew for sure after he missed that first one that he was going to knock that second one down for sure. But it's like that sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it's like that.
Yep, unfortunately he's not a robot at this point, you know, so he's not going to make it every time. Yep. But yeah, it was a great game. They went into the overtime, unfortunately. But you know, it's still good they had that opportunity to see how they can all react in overtime situations. It's better to have an overtime situation now than to have one when you really need to win the game if they made it into the playoffs, which I do believe they'll make it into the playoffs. But this was the fourth or fifth overtime situation for the 76ers tonight. So, and so with that experience.
And, you know, the other thing is, it's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's a learning experience. So, and that's another thing is that the course of the season, the whole thing is a learning experience. And then everybody's building toward the goal being able to be in the playoffs. Everybody's not going to make it. But once again, you don't practice with the intent not to.
Mm-hmm.
The intent is to go.
Yeah, I definitely believe that they have all intention of making it to the playoffs, and not just making it to the playoffs, but making it to the second round, the third round, as many rounds as they need to, because they're just a different type of team. I believe once they get into the playoffs, they have the potential to go kick it up a notch. And I will say this, as far as Tice, I know I've kind of joked about Tice before, but do you think it's possible that he could potentially be one of those missing pieces, even though he's not missing, be one of those missing pieces that we kind of need? Because we talked about earlier how we're not a really physical, overpowering team, and this is why we're not really blowing teams out or anything. Like, we don't have like a David West type, individual, when he was on the team, and Paul George and those guys and George Hill, we had a lot of games that we were just, handling people, just blowing people out. I'm sure you remember that. And then obviously we had Roy Hibbert, so we had a pretty physical team. So do you think potentially when Tice does get back into the rotation or gets into the rotation at all, that he could be one of those players that kind of gives us a little bit of edge like that when we need it?
Well, like I said, Tice is a player. But even I'm really not sure how good he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I've seen him play, but I haven't seen a lot of him.
Right.
And, some guys are always going to be actually role players.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're there and you can play your role and you can fit in. Or maybe he's just there long enough to develop, get himself together, and
move on out.
Move on to someone else. That's really a possibility. You have to stop and think.
That's what I've thought about him the entire year, honestly.
Yeah. You have to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
He was traded as an asset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody's going to take a person that they don't see as being an asset.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of it's not really the whole. Obviously Tristan Thompson was traded here with Buddy Hield and Tyrese, which I thought was kind of funny. It didn't seem like he wanted to be here at all. It's like he was just waiting to get traded. I'm not even sure where he's at right now because I knew he went to.
I don't know where he's at, but I don't think it wasn't he didn't want to be here. I think he's just, some players are just they're just real, and they face the realities that I gotta find a place where I fit, where I belong, because some people will see it, some won't.
Mm-hmm.
And if the coaches, the team don't see it, then they just don't see it.
Mm-hmm. You think Miles was ever threatened by Tristan Thompson's presence? I know he wasn't on the court.
No. The thing, I guess the thing with Miles is, and I think in his mind, the way he looks at it is, everybody's always talking about trading me and me going somewhere else, and then there's these people that want to say, I'm no good. Well, first of all, like I say, if he's no good at all, then who would want him?
Exactly.
So why talk about a trade? Right now, would you talk about a trade? Somebody wanting Goga?
I don't really know who'd want Goga at this point.
I don't know that people have seen enough of Goga that they would want Goga.
Yeah, Goga's not been terrible. He's had flashes of being useful to the team, but
of course, remember Goga is still young too.
Yeah, he is. It's not like it's a TJ Leaf or anything like that, So
yeah, he's better than that.
Yeah, he's definitely better than TJ Leaf. So how much better? Not really sure, but I think he's better. So, still not a great draft pick in my personal opinion, but hey, it's
now,
all right.
I'll tell you this. I'm sure there are a lot of people didn't think T.J. McConnell would still be around.
No, I don't think a lot of people did. I'll be honest. I thought Lance Stevens' chances of being around were higher than T.J. McConnell's. I don't know, but he's definitely a great asset. The thing about T.J. McConnell is it doesn't seem like that he makes a lot of poor decisions.
Well, he doesn't make a lot of poor decisions.
Yeah, he doesn't really make a lot of poor decisions, and that's what I will say is the difference between him and Lance. even though they're both high energy people. Now, obviously, TJ McConnell's more high energy than Lance, but as far as, being a fan favorite type player, people love TJ McConnell and people love Lance. They both got something about them. But yeah, Lance is just not as predictable as TJ McConnell. He doesn't make as great decisions. But I don't know. I still wish they could have somehow figured out a way to have Lance on the team in some kind of way. Like, if he could come back for a fourth time.
About Lance. I wonder what he's doing now.
I don't know. I need to look it up. But I was just hoping and praying they were going to figure something out with Lance. So I don't know. I just like him. I don't know. Just one of them people. Under the spell of Lance Stevenson for some reason. I just want him to be on the bench, even if he don't even get on the court. Just give him a clipboard or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, did you have anything else you wanted to say about this show tonight? Or about the game?
Well, no, I really don't. I just, on one thing I know, is because they've been doing it all season long, they're going to have a bounce back.
Right.
They're going to have a bounce back.
Yeah.
I think their next game is with Portland.
Yep, their next game is with Portland. Portland is 19-18 right now. Obviously, we're 21-18. It's going to be here at Gamebridge. It's going to be at 7 on Friday. So look forward to that. It should be a good one. Hopefully we get a win since it's a home game. But we'll see how that turns out. So is Tyrese not going to be with us for one of these next coming games? I thought I heard somebody say he wasn't going to be with us.
Tyrese?
Yeah. No?
No, I didn't.
Okay, maybe I misinterpreted what somebody was saying, but
I think Jackson is not supposed to be with the team because he's with the Mad Ants.
Oh, okay. I just thought I heard one of the broadcasters mention Tyrese not being with us. I don't know, because they mentioned something about him wearing his headband and a photo shoot or something like that. I have no idea why a photo shoot would even take place over a game, but I don't know. But I obviously just misunderstood something, so everybody please forgive me for even saying that. But I guess we'll kind of see what happens. He better show up. They're paying him.
I think he'll be there.
Yeah, he'll be there for sure. Yeah, but yep, it was a great game. Great game, and definitely another great show. Dad, I just want to thank you again for guest starring or appearing, making a cameo. I don't know what you call it. Standing in place of Preston while he's on his actual vacation. Preston is actually out of the state of Indiana at this point in time. But yeah, so we didn't do the final word last show, which is, not great. But what would you say, what is going to be your final word?
Well, my final word is, it's not over until it's over.
That's a final phrase. Preston would get on you for that. I had a final phrase too. So since you did a final phrase and Preston isn't here to actually, regulate that, I'm gonna give a final phrase too. I will say, keep on keeping on. That's gonna be my final word phrase. Something in between. So keep on keeping on. So the Pacers, they'll keep on keeping on, and it's not over till it's over. So we know they will continue to do amazing things this year. But yep, that was the show. Thanks, Dad, again for joining me. Make sure you guys subscribe to The Final Word. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel if you want to go ahead and listen to us on there. Be sure to tell your friends and your family about The Final Word. We're doing podcasts every game, after every game. And we're going to try to get these to you as fast as possible. So hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast, and we will talk to you guys later. Be blessed.